Alright, well this is pretty much the finished product of the headstock conversion. Um, it is what it is. There's the front of it. In different lighting, if I can focus it, the Gibson boarding itself has the mother of pearl look, sort of iridescent. In different lighting, it stands out more. In the sunlight it doesn't really, but when you're indoors or in the evening or something it does. Anyway, one thing that I'll just point out the flaws. So right here, the logo ripped in half, came apart. So if you look very closely, there is a screw up right there. The other one is here. The L is obviously apart. It's a water slide decal, and they're very sensitive. And this one I installed it and I let it sit overnight. And when I woke up the next morning, it slid. Well, it tore, and then I installed it, and it had it perfect, but it moved, with the water as it dried out. My tuners are Epiphone, and you can see they're pretty green, especially compared to this yellow wall behind it. But they are stock Epiphone. I didn't change them because they work just fine. This is obviously a Gibson standard truss rod cover. So there's the front, and here's the back. The biggest thing you'll notice is the joint where I had to tape it off and do all the staining and sanding and painting and clear coating. It's a pretty big difference. The color was the hardest part, and I obviously didn't nail it, but it's close enough for me, and I'm not that worried about it. It's not necessarily smooth transition either, and I could always work on that, just kind of lightly sand it some more. But what I don't want to do is take off the original color and go down too far into the polyurethane coating because I've already stripped it all off, not all of it, but I've toned it down and I've taken off the shine. So yeah, there's the tuners, and obviously there's no serial number or made in USA or Gibson Epiphone. There's nothing on the back except the E of the Epiphone for the tuners. So I don't have the capacity to stamp it, and I'm not trying to pawn it off as something it's not. So it's just blank, so there's the back. Another thing I wanted to talk about while I'm at it, if I had to do it over again, I probably would have just bought another one of these Les Paul waterslide decals. It doesn't bother me when I know it's there, the little L part. From a distance you can't tell, and even if you get up close, unless you're looking, anybody who's watching this video is obviously going to notice it because you're looking for the details. But I'm just a tightwad, and at the time I just wanted to get the project done. Had I known it would have taken like 6 to 9 months to a year, I don't know how long it took. And I obviously didn't work on it constantly, just when I had time. But the biggest part was the clear coat, burying this Gibson logo down in there, and then I had problems with these bushings, putting them in and them sticking to it hadn't dried yet, and so they would stick to the clear coat, and I pulled them out, and the clear coat popped off, which I'll show pictures of. Let's see what else. So yeah, I would have bought another one, because they're not that expensive. But I would have had taken it off and sanded down again, and probably spray painted and primed. So it would have taken a while. But in the grand scheme of things, it would have been pretty simple to do, if I had just done it at the time. So I think that's all. Oh yeah, another thing. Once the clear coat would dry, fully, I would start to see some things pop up, even like after 3 months of drying. I'd start to see lines of where I pieced together the wood down the side, and then I strung it up, and so the tuners sort of pressed against the bushings, and in turn that pressed against the headstock itself and the top coat, and so it kind of just pushed a little bit, and you could see where the poly had just kind of slid up and made a little bit of a ridge. So that was no big deal. Just when it was all said and done, I just sanded it again to be careful not to go down too far. I think I maybe sprayed it again lightly. I can't even count the number of times that I had to redo stuff. So it's a big pain in the butt, and I don't know if I'm not recommending you do this. It's just something that was a project for me, and just something to work on. And I'll show you maybe if I get it all done a picture of the guitar itself, just as a finished product. I believe I'm talking too much, and you probably just want me to shut up and show you the pictures, so I'll do that. Okay, I'm going to narrate some of these photos because that's all I have. I was wanting to document very well with video and all that stuff, but it just took so long, and it would have taken twice as long to videotape and discuss everything. So I've just got pictures, and I'm using the microphone on my laptop, so I don't know how well it's going to turn out. But this first picture is just of a decal I got. It's a water slide. You can see it's the Gibson logo, and then the Les Paul model is on there too. And I got it from webstore.com, which I just checked today, and I didn't see any. I got mine like months and months ago, so I don't know if they still have any, but you can get them on eBay, I'm pretty sure. Although I think they might have tried to shut that down, so I don't know exactly where you can get them now, but I'm sure you can get one. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, and I'll go to the next picture. But at least the Gibson portion of this is pretty pixelated, and I've actually got some better photos on mylespaul.com. If you search for my username, it's nsink, S-I-N, and then S-I-N-K. You can see the photos a little bit better. And then I'll go to the next photo. The Les Paul itself is, it's a little, it's probably a little different, and the word model, it may be spaced a little bit differently from the real thing. Splitting hairs here, and I wasn't going for like historically accurate and all this jazz. The kind of a cool thing that I like about the Les Paul writing is if you look at it closely, it sort of looks like the tweed that are used on Fender amps or the cases, whatever. So that's kind of a cool deal. Next photo is just a picture of the whole deal. And I obviously did not go with this Gibson decal. I did go with the Les Paul wording, and that's the thing that split on me. But that's that. Okay, this next photo is just what the guitar looked like. The headstock looked like before, and you can see the truss rod configuration is not like the Gibson, in that it's down to the nut. It goes straight to the nut. There's no wood there in the middle. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll get to that later. But next photo, same thing. Next photo, same deal. This next photo is the back of the headstock. There's a serial number. It was made in Korea. This is more just for my documentation, so I remember, where and when it was made. I even had the stickers on it, even though I had it for the guitar for probably, 8, 9, 10 years, I don't know. Next picture is the process of plugging up the tuning peg holes in the headstock. I just got wooden dowels. I got a dowel rod from like Lowe's or Home Depot, something like that. I don't remember exactly what size I got. Sorry, I don't have that information, but you could probably just measure it and then go buy something close. There's probably not going to be, at least for this metric size, because Epiphones are measured in metric units. There's probably not an exact measurement, and you wouldn't want to get it exact probably either, because you need to use wood glue to kind of seal in the little gaps. And I did that. Obviously, I tried to get the dowels about the same thickness as the headstock, but, I was going to need to sand it on both sides either way, so that wasn't a big deal. And that next photo is just the same thing. This other photo is, I obviously sanded the dowels flat to the surface of the headstock, and just begun. Next photo, same thing, just begun sanding, getting it flat. Okay, these next two things are videos, so I'll just let them speak for themselves.
That's going to be pretty good. Wow. Didn't like the way it jerked at the end, though. I did not like that. That's what tight bond is for. That's right. Did not cut as smooth as I thought it would.
So you just saw the video of chopping off the headstock sides, which was pretty nerve-wracking, but you know, this whole thing is to an Epiphone guitar, which costs like, I don't know when I bought it, it's probably $400. You know, and I'm doing all this modification to improve it, so if I did screw it up, it's not the end of the world, but you know, as it is now, I'm pretty happy with it. But all this to say, this is the process. So here's the headstock with the sides chopped off, and the top of the headstock is actually, I found it to be true to the size of the Gibson headstock, so I did not have to do any modifications really to the top. Okay, next photo is the maple. I believe this is maple or mahogany. Gosh, I really don't know. I tried to look up what the headstock was made out of, or at least the neck and everything, and I wish I knew my woods better, but this is something that a friend of mine at work had, and he graciously gave to me. But I cut them close as possible to the size and thickness, and you know, glued them to the sides with wood glue. And next photo, same thing. Obviously, letting them dry for a good long time. Well, 24 hours maybe. You know, I did have to go back and glue some spots, like make sure glue got in all the little holes, because the, you know, the air seeps out and it leaves little crevices. Here's the back side. Let's see, same stuff. Nothing really big to talk about there. The next photo is I kind of roughed out the with a Sharpie or something, you know, the approximate size of the headstock, making sure, you know, I was thinking, you know, how am I going to get that down? Because I don't want to sand just and go through like half an inch of wood, I don't know, a quarter of an inch. So I ended up taking a saw and just trying to carefully get as much of that meat of the wood off. So that I did that, and then this next photo is a casualty of that. I got a little bit too trigger happy, or just I wasn't being careful enough, and I kind of gashed the side of the headstock there, which you can see, but I did fix that. Thank God it worked out, and it's you can't really even tell now, but I was pretty afraid of that being like a permanent scar, but it worked out. So anyway, yeah, just I was trimming the added wood to get, you know, down as close as I could, so then I could really sand it, fine tuning, do the sanding. So this next photo, I think I just taped up the truss rod hole so it wouldn't get wood shavings and sanding dust in there. And next photo, same kind of stuff. I think here, if I can, I'm trying to see the photo. Yeah, this is, I think I sanded it down maybe flush with the top, or at least it's getting there. You can still see the Epiphone inlay there. It's still there. Okay, next photo. This is the back. Obviously, I sanded it down, and I'm trying to get that wood flush with the original headstock. Next photo is it's taking shape there. You can see that we didn't evenly shave off the sides, because you know, the left side is, there's more wood there than on the right side, but overall, I mean, it doesn't matter, because in the end, it's, you can't see that. So this is, you know, really taking shape as far as what it would be like in the end, the overall shape of the headstock. and it's sanded flush, I think, on both sides. Yeah, here's the back. Sanded pretty good there. And what else? Oh, there's a good photo. I took this photo and made a little circle. It's ghetto, but just trying to point out the part of the headstock I'm talking about. So as you can tell, as you go, like if you were to go from the front of the headstock to the back, it angles up. If the plane of the floor is like the flat plane, it goes up from the floor, if that makes any sense. And I didn't really know how to approximate that. So I have a Taylor guitar, and I just took a piece of paper and I kind of measured. I don't have it with me or have a picture, but I just kind of measured the angle. I drew it on a piece of paper, and then and then I took that and I sort of transferred that angle to the headstock. And I don't know if you can figure out how to do that, but I just kind of used what I had to do that with. So just a heads up that I was worried about how to do that for a while, and then I just got the idea to do it that way, and it turned out fine. This next picture is a photo of the template I have, and so the template, I don't remember exactly where I got it online, but if I remember correctly, it said 1950s Les Paul headstock, and it was drawn by John Cato, Catto, and it had a dimension on there like 20 millimeters as far as like a scale. And I think I found one where I could actually print it out to scale. Um, that stuff can get kind of confusing trying to print stuff out, and me and computers don't get along sometimes. But I finally got it to the scale I needed, and you can see that it's pretty good there, good fit for what I've done so far, or what I had done so far. And then we actually took a drill press, my friend at work and I, well, he did all the hard work, and we tried to drill the holes best we could to the centers. Didn't have a necessarily precise as we wanted, and it actually turned out, I'll show you a little bit later, one of the holes was a little bit skewed. So this picture, I don't know if you can tell yet, but the upper left hand hole is kind of far up and to the left of where it needs to be. And you can see that with how much of that original hole wood is there. So next photo, just another picture of kind of where it was at this point. I took the liberty of putting the bushings in and some of the tuners, to get an idea of where the holes were, if they're in the correct spot. And I found out that, and just by measuring too, that they weren't in a really good spot. Here's another picture. I had taken a Sharpie just to darken in to get an idea. Okay, so here's all the bushings and tuners in. And I think maybe we re-drilled two of the holes. It might not have mattered, but I was just kind of getting nitpicky, and it was off a bit. Okay, next photo. I'm doing all these in order of the date, so sequentially. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm doing these photos sequentially by date. So this photo is the Gibson. It's a logo itself, and I got this from iGuitarmusic.com. I'll put the link in the description of the video, and it's described as a MOP, Mother of Pearl, I'm assuming, logo, and you can see that it does have some thickness. It's not just a sticker or a decal, and that's one of the reasons I went with this versus the water slide that I had as an option. So this stuff's pretty cool. I mean, it has a mother of pearl, pearloid sort of incandescence to it, and like I said before, it looks better or more iridescent in different lighting. But the thickness described on the website is 0.15 millimeters, and so this kind of presented the hardest thing about this whole project, in that I had to bury this in polyurethane on top of the headstock. So I mean, you don't 0.15 millimeters isn't a lot, but when you're spray painting or spraying with polyurethane, it takes a lot of coats. So next picture is the same thing, and Oh, that's my son. In between the B and the S is obviously where it came apart on me. This is the guitar taped up and in the state it was in at the moment. Okay, ha ha ha. This is where a major problem came into play. If you look around the tuning peg holes, you can see that part of the headstock, I guess laminate top, has been chipped off. Well, a lot of it has around the holes. And so when I put the bushings in to test out the placement of the holes and just get an idea, it was a really stupid thing to do because the holes were too tight, not sized properly for the bushings, and so to get them out, I could had to force them out, and when I did, it took off. You can see if you look down there. I'll go to the next picture. It took off down to the bare wood of the original headstock, and what looks like is sort of like a plastic overlay. Like I think that's the original plastic that chipped off. So that was bad news, and thankfully the guy that was helping me at work got me. Oh, okay. You see at the bottom there, that hole, I guess, I can't remember what happened with that one. I think we were going to re-drill it, or it was too small. We are going to make it bigger. Anyway, we just ended up making a big hole in that one. The lower right hand is what I'm talking about, the hole. It's obviously bigger than the others. I can't remember exactly why we had to do that, but we did. And then there's a big dowel that filled it with. Okay, and so to take care of the problems with the chipping, we had to turn to this stuff, Bondo Ultraviolet Glazing and Spot Putty. So this stuff's pretty cool. I think it works with the sunlight, so you have to leave it out in the sun just for a little, like not long. You don't have to leave it like all day, just for a few minutes. But you smear it on and you fill the cracks. So I could have tried maybe to fill that stuff with polyurethane, but that would have taken forever, and well, it would have taken forever to dry, really. But I didn't know about this stuff. But my friend Mike at work, he told me about it, and he actually let me borrow this stuff. It worked really well. Put it in, it dries really hard, and then I just sanded it down to what you see here, and then had to do the same thing. Here's the next picture. Had to do the same thing all around, and you can see the wood glue of that other dowel that it did. Here's another next picture, just a closer view. Oh yeah, here's the little piece of wood I had to stick in the truss rod hole. So it's just a small piece of wood, pretty thin. I can't remember exactly how thin it is, but and I don't even remember where I got it actually. Probably Mike at work. He helped me a lot with this. The trouble with this, or the hard part, is you can only really glue it on three sides. You glue it to the nut, and then to the two other sides. But on the opposite side of the nut, obviously you can't glue it to anything. And the other thing is there's nothing underneath it, like below it, to glue it to. It's just kind of suspended there. So I really had to work it. I think I stuffed some like paper towels in there to sort of give it something to rest on while the glue dried. And I mean, it eventually worked out. And I also had to make sure that if I needed to get an Allen wrench in there to adjust the truss rod, then of course I could do that. So I just had to make sure of a few things and be careful with that. So there's that. Here's another picture of it. So you see it's pretty thin, and you can see that I can still get to the truss rod. And there's a close-up also of those nasty tuning peg holes. Okay, so this is the back of the guitar. Just trying to get it sanded down, even, flush. Nothing really else to say there. This is getting down, getting all the stain off, the layer of stain. It took a while to do, but this is pretty much down to the bare wood. Next photo. Okay, so another problem I kind of ran into was the stain. Obviously the color did not really come out to match great. I ended up going with Sherwin-Williams paint, and I took the guitar there actually, and they tried to match as best they could, and they did a good job, I guess, but you know, it's really hard to match, and it turned out darker than the actual color that I needed. The other thing is, when I got my wood glue, I read on it that it was sandable and paintable and all that, and so I was thinking, oh yeah, no problems. But I don't know why, but I didn't think to I had to make the connection that it wasn't stainable. So anywhere where I had glue was not going to pick up the stain. But you know, I kind of just went with it, and I put enough stain on there to where it more or less kind of puddled and dried, and then so when I put the polyurethane over it, it sort of just encapsulated it in there. And that's probably not the best idea, but it's just all I had to work with at the time. And you know, it turned out fine. I'm glad it did, but it's probably not the best craftsmanship, to say the least. So this picture here is, I don't really know why it's blue. All that stuff's blue. I guess it's just overspray. Oh, I know what it is. Mike, again at work, he sprayed the stain on. We didn't like rub it in. He actually sprayed it on, so that's how it kind of get the evenness. And this is just this stain got on top of the headstock. Okay, so this stuff is the top of the headstock, and the reason it's gray is that it's primer. I don't remember exactly what. I'll try to take a picture if I can find it, but it's just primer, spray primer. So I had to put that on there to make sure that the black top coat would stick. Okay, so here we go. Here is some of my staining issues. I don't know why it wouldn't stick or wouldn't stay. The stain that did seep into the wood, you know, it was too light. And then the stuff on top was too dark, but I would rather have it dark and solid, consistent. So again, what really happened is we just kind of caked it on there. Not really messy, but we just had to just kind of let it sit on there and dry as best we could, and then really the polyurethane just kind of sealed it in. Here's another picture of how terrible it looked at the time. More of the same. Here's yet another picture. It's pretty bad. I don't really even know how I fixed that. I think just more staining and light sanding. Gosh, it looks bad. So here's the I guess the final dry of the well, I don't know if that's, yeah, I think this is actually with the paint on. So I put the primer on, sanded it, and then I think this is the paint. I'll try to take a picture of that too. It's just black spray paint, nothing fancy. Black's black, so I actually got pretty cheap stuff, but it worked out fine. Try to find the next picture. Okay, the black is definitely on here, and I think you can tell because I put, you know, this is putting coats of poly on for the first time. I had to put a few layers down in order to stick the decal on. And here I've just got the right placement for the Gibson, and it may be before it broke on me between the B and the S. Can't tell. Okay, and so here is what it would look like, you know, if it was all dried and everything. I just kind of lightly put the truss rod cover on. You can see the decal, the water slide. It's still kind of a different color where the clear is, but you can see that yourself. Okay, so here I had to sand down, poly spray, sand down lightly, and I was trying to bury not only the Gibson logo but the water slide, and obviously the water slide is a lot thinner, so it was easier, but I had to build up the same level of consistency all the way through. So I would spray and sand, and anywhere where you would see like a light spot around, you know that's like a low spot, and that would need more poly or clear coat. So next picture, more of the same. Like I said, just a very long and tedious process. Oh God, here's the side, obviously, and sort of bad pitting. I think that's just the way the stain was drying and stuff. And no, well, it's got poly over it right there. So I think I just kind of, like I had said, I think at this point I was taking stain on a rag and just dabbing it on. Really messy, really unorthodox and ghetto. But so this next picture is getting close, I guess, to getting that level clear coat. Just more sanding, more sanding. Here's another problem I ran into. I sanded so much of the poly that I actually got back down to the primer. So at this point, I basically had to go back and put spray paint over this spot, hoping to God that it wouldn't be noticeable. And really, this is kind of the last picture I have of the process, at least at this kind of point of the game. I don't have really good pictures of the after of what this kind of progressed into. It was just a headache. And I guess if you really, 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 and I'm talking really look for it, you can see. But it has to be in a certain light, in a certain angle. But so thankfully this kind of worked out. And it's not as bad as it could have been. So I'm just going to try to find some more pictures maybe of the guitar. Here's the back of the guitar with it pretty much finished and the tuners on. But I'm going to try to load up some kind of finished pictures of the guitar. I'm not completely done yet. Some other things I've done, I have taken, I wanted to kind of age the fretboard inlays because they just kind of stood out as being too new looking for the kind of vintage effect I was going for. Also, if you don't know about it, I have another video about how I kind of de-shined took down the shine off the poly of the body and all that stuff. There's a separate video about that. But anyway, I may make another video about the inlays. It's nothing crazy or very complicated. It's pretty simple. And then another thing I'm trying to do is get Gibson correct pickup rings, the plastic rings that go around the pickups, and a pickguard. But I ran into problems with that because of the color and it matching the binding and all that stuff. And there's a whole forum and discussion about that all over the web. People complain about the color of the Gibson being too pink, and the older Gibsons, the 50s, being more cream, and that's the kind that I guess people prefer. But for whatever reason, it's hard to find that. Or if you do, the pickguards cost like $75, which is stupid. But sorry, that's not stupid. It's just something I wouldn't do. It's not stupid. Okay, I'm done.